Howdy, folks, and welcome to another day in the Milky Way. And tonight we got a great show for you. Part 2 of Black Elk Speaks with my co-host, David Null, Hawkeye Two Feathers. Thank you for being here.
As always, Robert, thank you for having me. And greetings and blessings to all y'all out there. And we always hope that you are doing as well as possible. And for those of you, well, anyway, we'll talk about it later. But anyway, thank you all for coming, and we hope you're doing well.
Yes, absolutely. We were just talking about, before we forget, for all you people who listen out there, poor David's got a strike on his channel, so no show tonight. Sorry to hear that. I just wanted to let everybody know, because you know how it goes. By the time we get on and we get going, the next thing you know, everybody will be like, oh, why ain't you having a show? I thought he was having a show, and now he's not. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But,
well, I was going to say something, and I decided not to, and then you did.
Yeah, well, don't say the word. Just use anagrams or something. You know what I mean?
Face covering.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, because I don't want to get a strike before we get done.
Oh, well, we're not going to talk about it, but that's what it was about, face coverings.
Yes, exactly. Remember, that is taboo when it comes to YouTube. Hey, that rhymes. YouTube taboo. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. And I want to say something else, since you brought it up right now. I must be doing something, because within just a couple of hours, they had taken my video down from last week. And so for some reason I'm over the target, as they say. Because they took the video down almost immediately, and which is like, and I didn't say I wasn't trying to give anybody any advice, or that they should do like me or anything like that. But so be very careful. But apparently, old Hawkeye has pissed some folks off out there, because they've taken down 5 videos of mine now within the last 6 weeks.
Yep. Max just got his channel back. He was banned for a little while, a week or two. He says, "Good job, David. Proud of you. Stand and deliver." Yeah. That's right.
Thanks, Max. But I swear, I was like, I did not go in on the subject. No advice to anybody, but who controls us?
Oh yeah.
I just wanted who controls us.
And that doesn't mean Abbott and Costello who either.
Nope. Not who's on first.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny. But yeah, because that was such a big thing back in the day. Who's on first? Who? No, who's on? What's on second?
Yeah.
Oh man, I love that one. That was such a good one. If you ever get a chance, people, get it printed out and get somebody to do it with you in front of a crowd, because it is hilariously funny. I used to do that for talent show back in the day when I worked at the Dude Ranch. I was activities director, of course. Anyway,
and timing is everything in it.
Yes, timing is everything. And we got some good stories for us tonight. You do? Oh, shoot. I gotta.
Yeah, we got 2 stories tonight, because they're both very short.
Yes, absolutely. And I got to get over here. I got a new studio set up. So
I guess you could say y'all got the short end of the stick with 2. That was a bad one. That was a bad stretch.
Yeah. No, I got a new studio here. As you can see, now I don't have the green. I got a green screen, and it's working pretty good versus the thing that takes down my So that's the way it goes. Anyway, all is good. Tonight we're going to be talking about black elk, and we're going to finish up. We're going to start off in the middle. We're going to give a little bit of presentation here. So if you missed the first part, go back, and check it out. And we're going to bring you up to date with this little bit here. So we got
a recap.
Yeah, we're kind of a recap before we get started. Because
instant replay.
Instant replay. Who is Black Elk? In the 30s, an American poet named John Neilhart went to Pine Ridge Indian Reservation in South Dakota, and he met up with this Indian guy named Black Elk. Somehow or another, Black Elk was getting up in his age, and he really didn't want to talk to anybody. But John says, I'm going to go up there anyway. And believe it or not, Black Elk says, it was one of those ones where he says, I've been expecting you, kind of thing. And so here he is, and John sat down with him, and he says, you're a pretty good guy. Come back tomorrow. And when he came back the next day, they had a teepee set up for him so he could stay there. And so every day, Black Elk would come out and give his bit of the story, and John would take notes and write stuff down. He sits down with Black Elk, and they smoke the red willow bark together. Remember, we were talking about smoking peace pipes before. They're smoking red willow bark using Black Elk's sacred pipe or peace pipe, and so giving a symbolic offering to the Great Spirit. And then Black Elk begins to recount the story of his life. He talks about encountering the white men, which we recapped last week, the first time when he was 10 years old. They presented to him something evil and benevolent. He would play with his friends, in which he would imagine killing white men. His earliest memories include fleeing west with his people to escape U.S. soldiers. Yeah, they gave a good impression, didn't they? Much of his story is about the tribesmen's actions, fears concerning the encroachment onto their land. As time passes, they are contained more and more, moved from the freedom of the Great Plains to the reservations on which they still reside. A dread of what will come fills the mind of this young Black Elk. His people encounter geopolitical boundaries and white man's concepts of land ownership. We've talked about that. And they just said, hey, this is our boundary. This is our land. That's it. White man says, you ain't paying taxes on that. What do you mean? And the white men would make deals, and then they would break their deals. Just sounds just like it goes. He sits down. Okay, Black Elk expresses his beliefs in idyllic past, a golden age when no one starved and all his people lived in harmony with the land before the white man came and corrupted their ways. He talks about the white man's greed and how it drove off and alienated animals, humans, to separate worlds. Remember, the white man came in there and about Black Elk's age there in the 1860s, 1870s, and literally killed all the buffalo, elk, deer, whatever it was. Okay. See you later, Nina. Good night. Good night. Thanks for stopping in. We'll see you on Hump Day. Don't forget to stop on over there and see Nina on Hump Day, and we'll be there. I'm joining Nina on Sunday. Sunday for Sunday Live. Anyway, so this is where we kind of catch up with him. When he was 9, he found himself sick. Remember, we talked about that last week, lying helpless in his parents' teepee. He saw those 2 flying men, and we talked about that. And he was transported. This is where he has his vision on a cloud, and he stands before his ancestors. We talked about the horses running and his 6 grandfathers and what they all had to tell him. He conveys a message of calling for his life, a cup of water, and the power to live with this bow and the arrows, which is the power to destroy, and a peace pipe to make well what is sick. And this is Black Elk's vision. He is told that he will destroy his people's foes and that the future will be unsettled and chaotic, which it definitely was. Because the white man will bring great calamity. Okay, it was common practice amongst the Native Americans to people to induce visions by fasting, sweating, and to mark one's transition from childhood to adulthood. The vision is endowed with more significance, therefore, because in this case, it is not included in what happens uh, of its own accord. He is therefore being singled out to receive something extraordinary. As far as people are concerned, and this points the roles and grows into the being a medicine man, a sage. And we talked about sages and medicine men and things like that before. Endowed with wisdom for his people. It's interesting to note that most cultures have rituals of one kind or another to mark this transition. We talked about that too. And see if there's any more on here from last week's recap. He is okay. Black Elk is telling a story because he's afraid that his culture, customs, and wisdom of his people will be otherwise lost in the ways. He's not even telling his own personal story, rather his embodiment of the collective experiences of the Lakota people. He's embodying of the archetype, if you like. Okay, and this was done in 1930 and appeared as a book in 1932. And there you go. So we'll kind of let off with that there. And, it goes on and on and on. Reflections on circles. You should harmony. Okay. We got any more?
I lost him. Where did he go? By the 1930s, I can't hear you there, Robert.
Oh,
there
yeah, I was clicking so much, I clicked myself right off the show. I'm thinking, what the heck? I looked over and I'm like, you're speaking. I'm like, oh, you didn't hear any of that, did you?
Nope, I'm going solo again.
I'm clicking the things and I hit I got this new big screen, and sometimes the little cursor don't go over like it's supposed to. It says grown men can learn from very little children, for the heart of little children are pure. Therefore, the Great Spirit shows them many things which older people miss, which is so true. You got anything to say about that?
There are some old people, but nobody wants to listen to them. But I would say that's true because, the wisdom of young children, because they see things with fresh eyes, where old people are jaded. They've been through life and everything sucks and gonna die soon. And,
Yeah. So, yeah, anyway, he did a lot of things. We're going to continue on here with, I think we left off where he's going to start talking about Crazy Horse here. Because we did yeah. Okay, yeah. He's 11 years old. And I think I got a picture of this. And we're going to get rid of this, and we're going to set up that. And now I don't know if this is the right picture or not, but it said black elk. Now there's 1,000 black elks out there, I guess. But it said black elk, and I don't know, but maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. Anyway. Okay, so black elk. It was the next summer when I was 11 years old in 1874. Can you imagine living in 1874? You're living on the plains, you're hunting buffalo, you're doing all them things. Oh my gosh. Okay, just sit back, people, close your eyes, and imagine back in those days. The Great Plains, no trees in sight except for buffalo and teepees and tall grass as far as the eye can see. Blue skies, no contrails from plains, no white men around. There you are. Okay? Now you got the picture? The first sign of new trouble came to us. Our band had been camping at Split Toe Creek. I love the names of these places. How did they come up with Split Toe Creek? Yeah. Anyway,
somebody fell and hurt their foot.
Could be in the Black Hills, and from there we moved to Spring Creek and then to Rapid Creek, where it comes out into the prairie. That evening, just before sunset, a thundercloud came up and there to the west, and it was just before the wind struck that the clouds swallowed the split-tailed swallows, more splits, were flying around. It was like part of my vision, and it made me feel queer. The boys tried to hit the swallows with stones, and it hurt me to see them doing this, but I could not tell them I had a stone and acted as though I were going to throw it, and I did not. The swallows seemed holy. Nobody hit one, and I thought about it, and this I knew, of course, they could not. Okay, now it goes into the crazy horse. The next day, we came to some of the people were building a sweat teepee for the medicine man by the name of Chips, Buffalo Chips maybe, who was going to perform a ceremony and had to be purified first. You know, you read this stuff and you kind of learn a lot, just by reading what they were talking about. They say he was the first man who made a sacred ornament for our great chief, Crazy Horse. While they were heating the stones for the sweat teepee, some of the boys asked me to go with them to shoot squirrels. We went out, and when I was about to shoot one, I felt very uneasy. All at once, so I sat down, feeling queer and wondered about it. While I sat there, I heard a voice that said, "Go at once. Go home." I told the boys we must go at once, and we all hurried. When we got back, everybody was excited and breaking camp, catching the ponies and loading the drags. And I heard that White Chips was in the sweat teepee. A voice had told him that the band must flee at once because something was going to happen there. And this is why they had medicine men. This is, they didn't have radar. They didn't have telephones. They had medicine men. They had vision. Now, they always weren't perfect, but, they believed in them. And then it says it was nearly sundown when we started, and we fled all night on the back trail towards Spring Creek and down the creek at the South Fork of the Good River. I rode most of the night on a pony with a drag because I got too, he was on the drag pulled by a pony because I got too sleepy to stay on a horse. We camped at Good River in the morning, but we stayed only long enough to eat. These were tough people. I mean, think about it. You're walking all night long. That's a lot of freaking walking all night. And then you just stop to eat something and off you go again. I mean, could you walk all night long?
It depends if the hounds of hell were after me, know. And so in so many words, that's what it was. We got to go because it ain't like it's a buffalo stampede. No, we got to go.
Yeah. Anyway, they fled again upstream all day long. Now they walked all night and all day till they reached the mouth of Horse Creek, where we're going to stay there. We were going to stay there, but the scouts came to us and said that many soldiers had come into the Black Hills, and that was what Chip saw while he was in the sweat teepee. So we hurried on the night towards Smoky Earth River. So now they walked all night, all day, and all night. Wow. And we got there. I woke up, and it was daybreak. We camped a while to eat, and then we went up the Smoky Earth 2 camps to Robinson, for we were afraid of the soldiers up there. Afterward, I'd learned that it was the Pohuska who had led his soldiers into the Black Hills that summer to see what he could find. And you know who Pahuska was? You know who Pahuska was?
I can't think of his name now. The one that got murdered.
Yes, long hair.
Yeah.
General George Custer.
Thank you very much. I was sitting here thinking blonde hair, arrogant.
Mm-hmm.
Name that tune, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Regine brings up that Toby Keith died today. So our sympathies to him. He was a good one. 62. Gee. So soon they leave this world. Okay. Anyway, we camped there after we learned that the Pahuska, who had led his soldiers into the Black Hills that summer to see what he could find, he had no right to go in there because of that was our country. Also, the Wasichus had made a treaty with Red Cloud in 1868. See, and if we go back to what we once did on Red Cloud signed this treaty saying, he went to Washington, signed the treaty and said, hey, this Black Hills are ours, stay out. And they did. They brought, all the people left and the Indians were good. But that was during the war, or just after the war. And the United States is kind of broke and they couldn't really do anything because they were trying to get the country back together. But as soon as the country was starting to get together, that's when the people started going west and everything was falling apart.
Well, also, too, there were a lot of things that Custer did that he was a very arrogant man. And I mean, all of the reports after the Civil War, the ladies in waiting and the dances and things always said that he was a very arrogant man. And so those arrogant men back in the day was like, his point of view was like, hey, I am George Armstrong Custer. I don't care if Red Cloud signed a treaty. We're going into the Black Hills. The heck with that. So his arrogance, and he deserved everything that he got in Montana. I've just got to say, but so when he knew that the Black Hills were considered sacred, and he went there anyway. That's just how belligerent and full of himself that he was. He's like, the heck with the Indians, I'm going. But it's sacred ground. No, I don't care.
Well, he was very arrogant. I agree with you. But he was sent there by the government to see if there was gold in the Black Hills. So that's what he was doing there. And now that's all come out. I mean, that was like a big conspiracy back in the day, but it's come out that's what his purpose was, is to go in there with a big army troop, see if they could find if there was gold there. And if there was, that would give the U.S. government a good reason to send, troops in there and get rid of the Indians and so forth and so on. And that's what
break the treaty.
break the treaty. Yeah, because the government's, like I said, they're looking for how much money they can make. Think about the gold they're going to take out of there and how rich the government is going to get on that. So here it goes. Okay. So in 1868, that he could, as long as their grass should grow and the water flow, they would keep their land. Later, I learned too that Pahuska had found there much of that yellow metal that makes the Wasichus crazy. I love how he says that, and that it is what made the bad trouble, just as it did before when the 100 were rubbed out. Our people knew there was yellow metal in little chunks up there, but they did not bother with it because it was not good for anything. And we stayed all winter at the soldiers' town, and all the while, the bad trouble was coming fast. For in the fall, we heard that some Wasichus had come from the Missouri River to dig in the Black Hills for the yellow metal, because Huska had told about it with a voice that went everywhere. Later, he got rubbed out for doing that. I love how he puts it, you know.
He got rubbed out for doing so.
Yes, exactly. And here's how he got rubbed out. The Battle of Little Bighorn, as you can see, lots of teepees, lots of Indians running around, and a lot of dead soldiers. So anyhow, Battle of Little Bighorn, that's what we're talking about. So, okay, the people talked about it all winter. Crazy Horse was in the Powder River country, and Sitting Bull was somewhere north of the hills. Our people at the Soldiers' Town thought we ought to get together and do something. Red Cloud's people said that the soldiers had gone in there to keep the diggers out. But we, who were only visiting, did not believe it. We called Red Cloud's people hangouts or hang around the fort. That's what they call. We called Red Cloud's people hangs around the fort. And our people said they were standing up for the Wasichus, and if we did not do something, we should lose the Black Hills. Now, this is the important part. In the spring, when I was 12 years old, this is 1875, more soldiers with many wagons came up from Soldiers' Town at the mouth of the Laramie River and went into the Black Hills. There was much talk all summer in the moon of making fat, which is June. Remember how we talked about the months? June is the moon of the month of making fat. There was a sun dance there at the Soldiers' Town to give the people strength, but not many took part because everybody was so excited about talking about the Black Hills. I remember two men who danced together, and one had lost a leg in the Battle of the Hundred, slain, and one had lost an eye in the attacking of the wagons. So they had only 3 eyes and 3 legs between the two of them to dance with. We boys went down to the creek while they were sun dancing and got some elm leaves, and we chewed up and threw on the dance. Yeah, we boy, I gotta say this again because it doesn't even make any sense. We boys went down to the creek while they were sun dancing and got some elm leaves. Everybody knows what an elm tree is, right? And we chewed up and threw on the dancers while they were all dressed up and trying to look their best. We even did this to some of the older people, and nobody got angry because everybody was supposed to be in a good humor and to show their endurance in every kind of way. So they had to stand the teasing too. So what do you think of that?
The chewed up elm leaves is sort of like spitballs.
Oh, okay. I get it.
It was just, they could have chewed something else, but
Yeah.
It's okay. Spitballs.
The next we got in the moon when the calves grow hair. What month is that? Think hard. When the calves, the buffalo calves, grow hair.
Well, that'd be in the fall.
Yeah, pick a month.
September.
Wow, bingo! You get a gold star. Yes, there you go. I know you'd figure it out sooner or later. That's the thing. They have it. When they say, they're right on there. They're right on. September. There was a big council with the Wasichus at the Smoky River at the mouth of the White Clay Creek. I can remember the council, and I did not understand much of them. Many of the Lakotas were there, also Sheilas and Blue Clouds. So these are different tribes, Sheilas and Blue Clouds. I never heard of those tribes. Cheyenne. Sheilas are the Cheyenne, and the blue clouds are the Arapahoes, it says in the fine print on the bottom. Did you ever hear them called that?
No.
Okay, well, we learned something tonight. And it says here, but Crazy Horse and Sitting Bull stayed away. Okay, and the counselors sat and talked all about them and the crowd of people on foot and on horseback. They talked and talked for days, just like the wind blowing at the end. I asked my father what they were talking about in there, and he told me that the grandfather at Washington wanted to lease the Black Hill. Lease. Did you hear that? Lease. We're just going to lease it from you. We're going to send thousands of people up there to lease the land, and then we're going to dig it up, and then we'll all leave and go away, right? He wanted, great grandfather wanted to lease the Black Hills so that the Wasichus could dig yellow metal, and that the chiefs of the soldiers had said if we did not do this, the Black Hills would be just like melting snow, held in our hands because the Wasichus would take the country anyway. And they did. Made me sad to hear this. Also, I thought of my vision and how the spirits took me there to the center of the world. After the council, we heard the creeks of the Wasichus that were flowing into in the hills because like rivers. And it looked like bad trouble coming. It looked like bad trouble coming. So our band broke camp and started out to join Crazy Horse. So that's what they did. They went down and traveled and traveled and traveled. And we're going to just jump ahead a little bit here. One day while we were out camping, I told Fat, my pony, run faster than he could. And he laughed at me and said that the only crows and coyotes would think my pony was any good. I asked him what he would give me if my pony could beat his, and he said he would give me some black medicine. You know what black medicine is?
No, I forgot.
Coffee.
Oh.
Yeah. So we ran, and I got the black medicine. All the while we were running, I thought about the white wing of the wind the second grandfather of my vision gave me, and maybe that powder went into my pony's legs. Okay, so they raced the Crazy Horse's camp on the Powder River. There were some hang around the fort people there, or that came with us. And when they saw that we were going in to join Crazy Horse, they left us and started back to the soldiers' town. They were afraid there might be trouble, and they knew Crazy Horse would fight, so they wanted to be safe with the Wasichus. We did not like them very much. And see, this is what it tells me. It tells me that these people were very, very divided. They were divided on what they wanted to do. A lot of them didn't want to fight, but a lot of them said, hey, they're taking our sacred land, they're taking all our stuff, they're killing all the buffalo, we got to do something. Okay, so skipping over here to, after a while we came to a village in the Powder River and went into the camp of the downstream end, and I was anxious to see his cousin was Crazy Horse. Did you know that? Again, for now that it began to look like bad trouble coming. Everybody talked about him more than ever, and he seemed greater than before. I was also getting older. Of course, I had seen him now and then ever since I could remember, and I heard stories of his brave things he did. Now he's going to tell a story about Crazy Horse. I remember the story of how he and his brother went out alone on horseback, and a big band of crows attacked them. So they had to run. While they were riding hard and all the crows were after them, Crazy Horse heard his brother call out. And then when he looked back, his horse was down and the crows were almost on him. And they told how Crazy Horse charged back right into the crows and fought them back with only his bow and arrows. And then he picked his brother up behind him and they got away. It was his sacred power and that made the crows afraid of him when he charged. And the people told stories of when he was a boy and used to be around with the old Hump all the time. Hump was not young anymore at the time, and he was a very great warrior, maybe the greatest we have ever had until then. They say people used to wonder at the boy and the old man always being together, but I think Hump knew Crazy Horse would be a great man and wanted to teach him everything. Now, Crazy Horse's father was my father's cousin, and there was no chief in our family before Crazy Horse, but there were holy men. And he became a chief because of his great power he got in a vision when he was a boy. And when he was a man, my father told me something about that vision. Of course, he did not know all of it, but he said Crazy Horse dreamed and went into the world where there is nothing but spirits of all things. That is the real world that is behind this one. And everything we see here is something like a shadow from that world. He was on his horse in that world, and the horse and himself on it, and the trees and the grass and the stones and everything were made of spirit. Now, I find that very interesting because, I've heard other stories where people say, yeah, when you get to the other side, everything is one. You can feel everything, know everything. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And it says nothing was hard and everything seemed to float. His horse was standing still there, and yet it danced around like a horse made only of shadow. And that is how he got his name. You always wondered that, didn't you? Which does not mean that his horse was crazy or wild, but that in his vision it danced around in a queer way. In it was his vision that gave him his great power. And for when he went to fight, he only had to think of the world to be in it again. And so he could go through anything and not be hurt until he was murdered by those Sichus at the soldiers' town on White River. Well, I guess the vision didn't help him there, did it now? And so I have, of course, a presentation about Crazy Horse because we're talking about that. Okay, Crazy Horse's final vision. The Prophet Lakota leader final days still haunt us today. There were too many tongues. Crazy Horse sought quiet on the solitary walks on the prairie, away from his village, and on one of these walks he chanced upon a dead eagle, and it deeply disturbed him. Crazy Horse returned to his lodge and sat in silence for several hours. The war chief was often immersed in his own thoughts, but those close to him sensed something was different. When he asked what troubled him, Crazy Horse's answer was startling. He said he found his dead body on the prairie. A short time after the incident, Crazy Horse experienced a terrifying dream. In the dream, he rode a white pony on an elevated plain. On all sides were enemies and even cannons. Crazy Horse said he was killed in his dream, but how he met his fate he didn't know. All he knew was he didn't die from a bullet, for a man guided his visions and dreams. His powerful nightmare could only be foreboding. And so that is his final vision. So, what do you think of that?
Interesting.
Yeah,
to say the least.
Yes, it is. It just tells you that he could see and he had great power, but he was troubled. You could see that he was troubled, and that he wasn't gonna, he knew his fate was sealed. He wasn't gonna make it for long. Okay.
Well, and here's the thing, as we have learned over the years, everything in the quantum, we've talked about it, that the spirit is with us everywhere. So whatever the Wasichus were planning,
Yep.
was in that quantum reality. It was in the great mystery because they spoke it. So one could say that he was sort of remote viewing, in a
Yeah.
way. So he was picking up this energy from the white man, and he felt he was doomed, and he was. But anyway, I just thought I'd point that out.
Yep. Okay. We're gonna skip ahead to when Crazy Horse gets killed. We're gonna find out how he got killed. We all would like to know that. Late in the moon of the dark red calves. What is late in the? Here's your time to guess. Think hard. Late in the moon of the dark red calves. What month is that?
December.
Nope. We're in it right now.
Oh, January. Oh, February.
Yes, February. There was a big thaw, and our little band started for the Soldiers' Town, but it was very cold again before we got there. Crazy Horse stayed with about 100 teepees on powder, and in the middle of the moon of the snow blind, which is
not a clue.
The moon of the snow blind, March. Okay, something bad happened there. It was just daybreak. There was a blizzard, and it was very cold. The people were sleeping, and suddenly there were many shots and horses galloping through the village. It was the cavalry of the Wasichus, and they were yelling and shooting and riding their horses against the teepees. All the people rushed out and ran because they were not awake yet, and they were frightened. The soldiers killed as many women and children and men as they could while the people were running toward the bluff. Then they set fire to some of the teepees and knocked the others down. But when the people were on the side of the bluff, Crazy Horse said something, and all the warriors began singing the death song and charged back upon the soldiers. And the soldiers ran, driving many of the people's ponies ahead of them. Crazy Horse followed them all day and with a band of warriors, and that night he took all the stolen ponies away from them and some of their own horses and brought them all back to the village. These people were in their own country and were doing no harm. They only wanted to be left alone. We did not hear of this until quite a while afterwards, but at the Soldiers' Town, we heard enough to make us paint our faces. And there you go. That's what Crazy Horses does. I thought that was the part with the thing where he gets killed. Well, it says the moon making fat, June. Thought I had it underlined somewhere here. And out to find the chum wagon. The maidens chopped the tree down and trimmed off the branches, and the chiefs were the sons. Okay. Anyway, there was a spot in here. Okay, well, we were all getting ready. I was getting ready too. Okay, because Crazy. This is a while after. This is June now, and they're met up with all these other different tribes. While they were getting ready, I was getting ready too, because Crazy Horse was going to lead the warriors, and I wanted to go with him. But my uncle, who thought a great deal of me, said, "Young nephew, you must not go. Look at the helpless ones. Stay home. Maybe there will be plenty of fighting right here." So the war parties went out without me. Maybe my uncle thought I was too little to do much and might get killed. Then the crier told us to break camp, and we moved over west towards the greasy grass and camped at the head of the Spring Creek while the war parties were gone. We learned later that it was 3 Stars who fought with our people on the Rosebud that time, and 3 Stars would be General Crook. We learned later that it was 3. He had many walking soldiers and some cavalry, and there were many Crows and Shoshones with them. They were all coming to attack us where we had the Sundance. But Crazy Horse whipped them, and they went back to Goose Creek, where they had all their wagons. My friend Ironhawk was there that day, and he can tell you how it was. So now Ironhawk speaks. So he must be sitting with a couple other Indians here. And Ironhawk says, I am a hunk papa. I was 14 years old that summer, and I was a big boy. 2 war parties went out, a very large one from the south end of the camp and a small one from the north end. I went with a small one, and there were only about 40 of us. The big party got there early in the morning, and when we came, they had been fighting a long while. There, in a wide valley, there at the bend of the river, with some bluffs and hills around it, and it looked as though our people were fighting all over the place. There were crows with the soldiers, and we began fighting with some of them. It looked as though we were getting the best of them. Then the soldiers began to advance on the other side of us, and we had to retreat. We were heading for there was a big party of us, but the soldiers were after us, and the crows got braver and fought harder because of the soldiers. When we got to the bend, the crows were right among us, and it was all mixed up fighting there. I don't know whether I killed anybody or not, but I guess I did, for I was scared and fought harder. And some way you couldn't keep me from killing somebody. If you didn't get killed, I am still alive. Boy, I tell you, he was all excited. I suppose, bullets flying. And, back in those days, those guns and stuff, you had to get pretty close. You couldn't just be, running around, that's too far.
No, but you could get killed by an errant bullet.
Well, yeah, exactly.
It might not be aimed at you.
Yeah, exactly. He says, there was Lakota with me by the name of Without a Teepee, and a big crow pulled him right off his horse, and he disappeared. Of course, I ran for my life because we could not fight all those crows and the soldiers too, and I was scared. But I was not running alone. We were all running with the crows after us. Then all at once we saw a band of cavalry coming right ahead of us, about 30 of them. I do not know how they got there. Maybe they were returning from a scouting trip. It looked bad for us. Then I heard voices crying our language. Take courage. This is a good day to die. Think of the children and the helpless at home. So we yelled, honka hey, charged on the cavalry and began shooting them off their horses, where they turned and ran. They were running towards their big party, and I could see many people were fighting over there. But everything was all mixed up, and you could not tell what was happening. It was a pitiful, long stretched out battle. They fought all day. Then the crows were on us from behind, and we turned around and charged back at them. But many soldiers were behind them coming, so we all had to run, crying, yay, hey, because there were not enough of us. Now I was scared. He's scared again. And I ran for my life. I came to a rocky place, and my pony stepped between 2 stones and nearly tore his hoof off. Yeah, I hate it when that happens. There was a brave Sheila by the name of Sitting Eagle. He was a friend of mine, and he had been with me fighting. I got off my pony to look at his hoof. A single crow was coming after me. Then I saw my friend, the Sheila, going to meet the crow. They fought hand to hand, and the crow went down. I wish I had stayed with Sitting Eagle, because then I could have been the first to coup that crow, but another man did it. I ran on foot, leading my horse, who was hopping on 3 legs. Then I saw smoke coming out of a deep gully where there was a creek. I went over to the smoke, and there were 3 Lakota who had killed a bison and were having a feast right there while all the fighting was going on over the hill. Now doesn't that just, put a cap on it? There's a bunch of fighting, but we're hungry, and there was a buffalo down there, so we just shot one, and we decided to cook us some dinner. It made us hungry. I mean, really? You took time out of the fight to go have dinner.
Well, they say, the army runs on food, on their stomach. So
Yeah, but these were the Indian warriors.
I know.
Yeah. You know, and they were having a feast right there. All of the fighting was gone all over the hills. They invited me, so I sat there and ate. I was about 14 years old, and I was always hungry. We had to watch out while we ate. One of the men took some clotted blood from the bison and put it in some raw bison hide and fastened it around my pony's hoofs so that I could ride. After we had been eating there a long time, a little Lakota came up on his horse with blood and dirt all over his face. He was angry. He said, "What are you doing here? We're fighting. All you think of is to eat." This could be. This is almost like a real life comedy. This is like right out of one of those shows. Like, we're hungry. We took time out to eat.
Monty Python.
Yeah, there you go, Monty Python. That's what I was thinking. Okay, we're fighting. We're fighting. All you think of is to eat. Why didn't you think about the helpless ones at home? Come make haste. We have got to stand our ground. I felt ashamed, so I got on my horse and we started. My horse could go better with his hoof tied up that way. Remember, he put the bison blood on it. We came to a ridge, and I could see all over the valley of the Rosebud where the fighting was going on. You could not tell who was getting whipped. It looked all mixed up. Some crows attacked us there, and I never got to the big party. But they were fighting hard, but it was bad enough where I was, except when I was eating. I must have eaten a great deal, for I was evening now. Of course, when we got there, they had been fighting a good while already. While we came away when it was dark to guard the women and children, and the enemy did not follow us. Of course, I thought of the Wasichus had whipped us, but I learned it was not so. It was not a finished battle because the knights stopped it. But the Wasichus got whipped anyway and did not attack our village. They went back to their wagons on Gooseneck Creek and stayed there. Now you got to admit that's quite the story. But I'm going to finish this out, and that'll be it for my part tonight. And well, we're going to have a part 3 on this blackout thing. But Standing Bear says, "Wait a minute, I was not in that fight." So Standing Bear is sitting around. He's one of these guys in this picture. This is the picture where the guy's doing the research. So anyway, Standing Bear says, "I was not in that fight. There were too many who were not. The warriors came back in the dark, and everybody was so excited, and nobody slept all night. The next morning, about 20 of us young fellows started out to see where the fighting had been. First, we saw a dead horse without shoes. Then we saw a dead horse with shoes. And near this one was a soldier, full of arrows. We got to where the soldiers had camped after the fight, and there was a place where the ground was fresh, and a big fire had been built on it. We started to dig there to see what was hidden. We got down on our hands and knees and dug in the loose ground. After a while, we came to a blanket, and there was a dead soldier in it, and it was tied around his legs and waist and neck. We pulled him out, and one of the men said, 'This is my blanket. I've been looking for this blanket. I will have this blanket.' So he took it." I mean, you can't make this stuff up. "Oh, look, they found my blanket and tied this dead man up with it. And then they buried him and built a fire on top so we couldn't find it. But I found it now, and I shall take it." Monty, that's where Monty Python got all his stuff.
Yeah, just reading history.
That's right.
Well, let me interject something here. I have never heard of them burying a white person, especially burying them and then putting a fire on top of them. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
That is like, what? So they built a fire on top so they didn't find him. That's
Probably.
just a little weird. But
Yeah.
anyway, I just want to bring that up.
Halle Berry's in the house. Hey, how's it going?
Howdy.
Anyway, okay, we're finished with the last paragraph. He says, under that was another dead soldier tied up in a blanket, and then another and another under that. The fourth one was a black Wasichu, meaning a black man. Each time somebody said, this is my blanket, and took it. I got the fifth one, and the man inside was young. He had a ring on his finger with a white stone in it, and it sparkled. I cut off the finger, and I had the ring for a long time. One of our men scalped the soldier and started home with the scalp on a stick. When we got to the top of the ridge, we could see the soldiers of the 3 Stars retreating towards Goose Creek, a long way off. A big dust was rising there. And then we went home. The village stayed at the head of the Spring Creek several days, and then we broke camp and moved over to Greasy Grass. And you know where Greasy Grass is. That's the Little Bighorn. And we will put a marker in there and continue on with that next week, because we'll have more on that. But anyway, you have to hear that, because you just can't make that stuff up. No, Allie, we are not talking about smallpox blankets. This is the story of Black Elk Speaks, and this is the time of the little the Custer's Last Stand, Little Bighorn. So he's a young boy, and he's you know, what is he,
14.
14, and you know, and he's got his friends there with him, and they're telling their stories about what's going on. And apparently the soldiers who got killed, they didn't want the Indians to scalp them, which they did anyway, because that's what they do. They scalp them, take their trinkets and things. So I suppose what they did was thinking, well, if we dig a hole and we build a fire on it, the Indians will walk right by and say, must not be anything under that fire pit, and leave them alone, right? But that was wrong, because the Indian knew exactly what to do. Oh, look, they built the fire on that soft ground there. They must have buried something really important.
Yeah, you know, it's like, ain't that suspicious? I mean, if they had, you know, he said he got the 5th blanket. So there were 5 guys buried in this hole.
Yeah.
Now, so you got to think about how much dirt was taken out and that they had to put back on it. So there must have been a hell of a mound.
Well, yeah, either that or they scattered the dirt out all over the place, and then they built the fire. Well, I suppose that's why they built the fire, thinking, well, it'll look like just a big fire pit, you know.
Yeah,
so,
but my point would be that would look suspicious.
It would. Didn't fool
that
those
would
Indians.
Look suspicious.
They knew exactly what was going on. They said, oh, look, there's something buried under there. You know, that could be a skit. I tell you, that could be, that would have been Monty Python right there. Hey, look, that first guy. Look, there's a dead man, and he's buried in my blanket. That's my blanket. I've been looking for that blanket. It's mine. Look, there's another one there. He's buried in a blanket. Hey, that one's mine. That one's mine too. I've been looking for that thing all over the place, and now it is. It's right there.
Yep.
Oh boy, Chloe's in the house. Thank you, Chloe. And Jeannie's in the house. Thank you for being here. So
you know,
anyway,
let me bring up something here, in that they haven't said anything about collecting their dead.
No, they haven't. The one time they did, well, in the first part 1. Remember, he went in that one fight, and that was the Battle of the 100, he calls it. And
right.
when they got done fighting, it was so cold they left everybody and went home.
Right.
They didn't collect any dead people; they just left. And then they brought the wounded, and they died along the way, or when they got back, they died. So
Right.
know.
Well,
It was,
I would think that they would take care of their friends and neighbors and relatives, but I'm just curious in that he has no mention of it. It's after the war and everybody's dead and everybody's lying around. But I mean, do you think that they would have just left them all? I'm
yeah,
just I'm just saying, you know.
yeah. Well, they knew when they seen, like, they were seeing horses. Oh, there's a horse. No shoes on it. That's an Indian pony. Oh, that one's got shoes on it. Must be a soldier's horse. Anyway, that's funny. Yeah, I wonder who has the diamond ring now. Jeez. Yeah. So I got to get that ring, so I just cut off his finger. Jeez. You know.
And a white stone could have been an opal.
Oh, yeah.
Or
Yeah.
it could have been like a pearl or a mother and pearl. But if he said a white stone, diamonds aren't white, they're clear.
Yeah.
So I just, you know, my first thought was, I wonder what is white. I don't think because just the way he said a white stone, I'm like, you know, there are lots of other semi-precious stones, you know, other than a diamond.
Well, I think a diamond would be more like a clear stone.
Exactly. And he would have said clear, I think.
Yeah. Because he would have. I mean, did they? You know, it'd be either clear or cloudy. I don't know, but yeah, a diamond I would say would be clear versus a white stone. Like you said, it would either be opal, could be pearl, could be you know, something on that order. I don't know.
Or mother of pearl possibly, but anyway, but so but I wouldn't necessarily go right to diamond, you know what I mean?
Yeah. F Kitty says diamond wasn't popular until later. So there you go.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So.
And it was really for the rich.
Yeah, because until
really for the rich. really for the rich. You know.
Yeah, exactly. White rock, was it an opal? We don't know. He just said it was white stone. You know, think in basic simple terms, what you would see if you had a stone on a ring, then it was white, because that's kind of how he describes everything at face value. Do you notice that? Face value, like the months. It's when the calves grow hair. Well, you're going into winter, you're going to start growing hair. And by the end of the winter, the calves start to get red colored. You know, they turn blackish. You know, because in the fall, they're like a tan when they're born. They're more of a light tan. And then as they get older, they turn colors. And then eventually they turn that black and dark brown kind of color, you know, when they get old. So anyway, so what do you got for us tonight?
Well, we got 2 short stories. The first one's a little shorter than the second one. Right. And are you ready to go there? Yeah, so we got Kwa and Skarida, which is raven and one half of anything, as told by George Titus. Now, for those of you, we are still on the Seneca books, the Seneca Indian Myths by J. Curtin, 1923. A brother and sister lived together. The brother never let his sister go out of the house. When he went home hunting, he told his dog to stay at home and get whatever the girl wanted. One day, when the brother was away, the girl wanted water, and not seeing the dog, thought, "What harm can it do? I'll go to the spring and get back quickly. She ran to the spring, stooped down, and filled the bucket. But as she straightened up and rested, putting the bucket at the edge of the spring, someone grasped her from behind, lifted her into the air, and carried her off. The dog followed, barking loudly. He made a spring into the air to catch the girl, but he couldn't reach her. The brother, hearing the dog bark, hurried home, and finding his sister gone, said to the dog, "You have caused great trouble." The dog felt so badly that he bent his head down, curled it under, and became a stone. Gagquagga, the man who stole the girl, took her to an island in the middle of a lake. Every day, Gagquagga went away and came back with dry fish that he found on the shore of the lake. Sometimes he brought pieces of human flesh, which he ate himself, sending the girl to get water for him to drink. One day, when the girl went to the edge of the island to get water, a man stood before her and said, "I have come here to tell you that Gagquagga is very hungry, and he has made up his mind to kill you tomorrow. He will tell you to bring water and fill the kettle. As soon as this is done, he will take up his club to kill you. You must run behind the post that the kettle hangs on. He will strike the post and break his arm. Then come to this place as quickly as you can." The next day, Gagquagga did as the stranger said he would. When he struck at the girl, she dodged. His arm hit the post and broke. She ran to the lake. The stranger was there and had a canoe. They sat in the canoe, and the man pushed out on the lake. This man was Skadegi, one half of anything. When he stepped into the canoe, he divided, and one half sat at each end. They crossed the lake, and as they touched land, the half of Skadegi at the rear end of the canoe was raised up and thrown across the canoe. He struck the front half, and joining it became a whole man. The girl was sitting on the bottom of the canoe. Skadegi's mother was at the landing. She went to the girl and saying, "My daughter, come with me," led her to a house. The girl was now Skadegi's wife. Every time he went out in his canoe, he divided himself, and one half sat at each end of the canoe. As soon as he touched land, he became one again. Skagedi had all his life been traveling around on the lake, liberating persons captured by bad men and wizards. After a time, Skagedi's wife gave birth to twin boys. As soon as they were born, the grandmother threw them into the lake. As they touched the water, they began to paddle and quickly came to shore. She threw them in a second time. In a minute, they were back. She threw them in a third time and far out. When they swam to shore, she said, "That will do." They began to run around and play. The boys grew quickly and after a while said to their father, "You ought to stay at home and let us go out in the canoe and do your work." "Very well," said Skagedi. The boys started, and after rowing some distance, one said to the other, "See, there is something off there on the land that looks as if it were breathing. Let us go ashore and find out what it is." They landed, and going to the spot, found an old house lying flat on the ground. But inside, something was breathing, and soon they saw that it was a very old man. They got him out from under the house, and one of the boys said, "This is our uncle. We must take him home." The man was willing to go. As they were leaving the place, he pointed to a large stone and said, "That is my dog." And striking it with a switch, he called out, "Get up!" The dog rose, shook, stretched himself, and followed the man. When they reached home, the boy said, "Mother, we have found our uncle." She looked at the man, and sure enough, he was her brother. The boys said to their grandmother, "You must marry our uncle." "Very well," said the woman. After that, they all lived together happily. The end.
Wow, that was a short one, if that. Huh? But that was pretty good. That was pretty good. He hit the stone and it turned into the dog.
Yeah, well, if you remember at the beginning, the dog was
into a stone.
Yeah. Well, because he had lost his sister, and so, but now after all this, it's like, things came back around. So that's an interest. Nobody's head got chopped off.
I was just gonna say that this was one of few and far between stories where nobody was killing anybody. I thought when she threw the kids into the water, she was gonna throw them in the water and, "Oh, if you come back again, I'll chop your head off."
I thought that they were going to turn into fish or something, or beavers maybe, or
Me too, yeah. It could be. That was a good one. Nobody died.
Nobody died.
Amazing. You gonna do the next one right after that?
Yeah, right.
Okay, Man-Eater. Okay, it's all yours.
Man-Eater and his younger brother. And the characters are Man-Eater, Ungoius, and Frost and Great Cold people. Shaganoiqua Goa. And we've had some of these characters before. Two brothers went on a hunting expedition. After they had been quite a while in the woods and had good luck in finding game, they built a bark house. At first, they had everything in common, but one day, the elder said to the younger, "We must live apart for the future. We will make a partition in the middle of the house and have a door at each end. You will always go out of the door in your part of the house, and I will go out of the one in my part." The younger brother agreed, and they made the partition. Then the elder brother said, "Now each one will live by himself. I will not go to your part of the house, and you will not come to mine. When they want to say anything, we will talk through the partition. You can hunt birds and animals, but I will hunt men and kill them. Neither of us will marry or bring a woman to the house. If I marry, you kill me if you can. If you marry, I will try to kill you." Both agreed to this arrangement and for a long time lived according to it. But one day when the brothers were out hunting, a woman came to the younger brother's part of the house. The elder brother tracked her, caught her at the door, dragged her into his part of the house, killed and ate her. When the younger brother came home, the elder said, "I had good luck today near the house." The younger knew what his brother had done, but all he said was, "It is well to have good luck." A second time, the elder brother tracked a woman to his brother's part of the house. This time, he knocked at the door and called out, "Give me a couple of arrows. There is an elk out here." The woman carried the arrows, and the minute she opened the door, he killed her. He dragged the body into his part of the house and ate it up. When the younger brother came, he talked through the partition as before, but said nothing about the woman. The next woman who came to him, he warned against opening the door, told her not to open it for anyone, even for him. He would come in himself. The elder brother ran to the door, knocked, and called out, "Give me a couple of arrows. There is a bear out here." The woman sat by the fire, didn't move. Again he called, "Give me the arrows. The bear will get away." She didn't stir. And after a while, he went into his own part of the house. When the younger brother came, the woman told him what had happened. While they were whispering, the elder brother called out, "Brother, you are whispering to someone. Who is it? Haven't you a woman in there?" "I am counting my game," answered the young man. There was a silence for a time. Then the young man began whispering cautiously to the woman. He said, "In the morning, my brother and I will have a life and death struggle. You must help me, but it will be difficult, for he will make himself like me in form and voice, but strike him if you can." The woman took a small squash shell and tied it in the young man's hair so she might distinguish him. The brother called out, "You have a woman in there. You are whispering to her." But he got no answer. In the morning, the brothers met and began to fight with clubs and flint knives. When their weapons broke, they clinched. Soon both were on the ground. Sometimes one was under, sometimes the other. The elder brother was exactly like the younger and repeated his words. Whenever the younger called to the woman, "Strike him," the elder cried out, "Strike him." The woman couldn't tell which one to strike. At last she caught sight of the squash shell. Then she struck a heavy blow and killed the elder brother. They put the body on a pile of wood and burned it up, then scattered the ashes. But the young man knew his brother would come to life. He put the woman in a cattail, put the cattail on the point of his arrow, and shot it far away to the west. Then he ran through the heart of the post of the house, sprang after the arrow, and coming to the ground, ran with great speed till he found where the arrow had struck, and the cattail burst open. Then he soon overtook the woman, and they traveled on together. He said, "We must travel fast, for my brother will come to life and follow us." The next morning they heard somebody whoop. The young man said, "That is my brother. He will destroy us if he can." He changed the woman into a half-decayed stump, hid himself a short distance away, and taking off his moccasins, told them to run on ahead, to go quickly through the swamps and thickets and over hills and mountains, and come back to him by a roundabout way. When the elder brother reached the rotten stump, he looked at it and was suspicious. But he followed the moccasins and went on swiftly all day and all night. Then he turned back. When he came to the place where he had seen the stump, and it wasn't there, he was awfully angry, for he knew that he had been fooled. He found his brother's tracks and followed them. When they heard him whoop, the young man took out of his pouch the jaw of a beaver, stuck the teeth in the ground, and said, "Let beavers come and build a dam across the world so water may rise to my brother's neck. And let the beavers bite him when he tries to cross the dam." When the elder brother came up, the dam was built, and the water was neck high. His brother's tracks disappeared at the edge of the water, and he said, "If they have gone through, I can." When the water reached his breast, beavers began to bite him. He was forced to turn back and look for another crossing. He ran all day but could find no end to the dam. Then he cried out, "I have never heard that there was a beaver dam across the world." And turning, he ran back to the place he had started from. The dam was gone. All that remained was a beaver's jaw with 2 teeth in it. The man-eater hurried along as fast as he could, and again the man and woman heard his whoop. The man took a pigeon feather from his pouch, placed it on the ground, and said, "Let all the pigeons in the world come and leave droppings here." All the pigeons in the world came, and soon there was a ridge 6 foot high made of droppings. When the elder brother came to the ridge, he said, "Their tracks are here. If they have gone through, I can." He tried, and when he couldn't get through, he turned back and ran eastward to look for an opening. Ran all day. The ridge was everywhere. He went back to the place that he had started from and slept till morning. When he wakened, the ridge was gone. All he found was a pigeon feather sticking in the ground. After dropping the feather, the younger brother and the woman ran till they came to where an old man sat mending a fish net. The old man said, "I will delay the man-eater as long as I can. You have an aunt living west of here. Beyond her house, the trail passes between 2 rocks that move backward and forward so quickly that whoever tries to go between them is crushed. But beg of your aunt and she will stop them." The 2 hurried on, came to the woman, and begged her to help them. She stopped the rocks long enough for them to spring through. Then she said, "You will soon reach a river. On the other side of the river, you will see a man with a canoe. Beckon to him, and he will come and take you across. Beyond the river are the frost people, but they will not harm you. A little animal will come to meet you. Follow it, and it will lead you to an opening. In the opening, you will find your mother's house." When the elder brother came to the old man who was mending a fish net, he pushed him and called out, "Did anyone pass here?" The old man didn't answer. He struck him a blow on the head and asked again, "Did anyone pass here?" The fisherman threw his net over the man, entangled him, and he fell. But after struggling a time, he freed himself and hurried on. When he came to the woman who guarded the rocks, he begged her to stop them and let him pass. She refused, and he watched for a chance to spring through. At last, when he thought the rocks were moving slowly, he jumped. He was caught, and half his body was crushed, but he rubbed it with saliva and cured it. Then he hurried on. When he came to the river and saw the man on the opposite bank, he shouted to him to come with his canoe and take him across. But the man didn't look up. He shouted again and got no answer. Then he swam across. On that side of the river was a forest where all of the trees had been stripped of bark and killed by the hammering of mud turtle rattles. The hammering had been done by the frost people and keeping time while they danced. These people turned upon the man-eater, killed him, hammering all the flesh off his body, then hammered his bones till there wasn't a bit of them left. When the mother saw her son and his wife, she was happy and said, "I am glad that you have come. I was afraid that your brother who stole you away from me would kill you. Now you will stay with me always." They lived happily ever after. The end. So how about that one for a story, eh?
That was good. That was good. Yeah, man. That sounded like one of the ones we had in the past where it was kind of the same thing. And he says to the lady, don't go outside. My brother will kill you, or my cousin or uncle or whoever it is, they'll kill you, and remember that one? There was one like that. And,
yeah, and there was also one that was had to do with partition too.
Yeah, that was the part. Yeah, exactly. There's been several of those, actually. Come to think of it.
Yeah, I think there was one with the young boy, and not, so in this one, so it was very similar, but not the same.
Yeah, and then the other one, he put her on an arrow, and he shot the arrow across the thing to an island, and then
well, in this one he did.
Yeah,
he turned her into a
cattail.
Cattail, right?
Yeah,
and put her on an arrow and shot her as far as he could, and then ran after her.
Yeah,
Ain't that something?
Yeah.
Well, apparently she couldn't run. I mean, why would he shoot her, but then him run? Anyway, but that's the story.
Yep. Like I said, that it kind of reminds me of them other ones, but yeah, that's kind of good. It's good. All right, what do we got for a card tonight?
I'm have just got done shuffling.
Good deal. I got a couple new decks of cards that I ordered. They came in today. I'm going to be presenting them on my show on the show with Nina on Sunday Live, along with all the merch I got from her Anakarana store. It's going to be fun. We're going to talk about Valentine's Day. Yep. Duggar. I can hear Duggar in the background.
Yeah, there's something outside the window. He's raising hell. Hang on a sec. Owl is one.
Owl. Ah.
Yeah, we haven't heard from Owl in a while.
In a while. Been a while. Oh yeah, Owl. I love Owl. Yep, that girl get him. Hey, Chloe.
I'm gonna let him outside. I'll be right back.
All right. We can hold down the fort here. We can do it. Not a problem. Yes. Anyway, good night for storytelling it is. And who can't beat a good story? Besides, David does such a good job at it. Chloe. Off the Hook is in the house. F Kitty, thank you for being here. And Jeannie, you're in the house too. Let's see who else there. Danny Staten. Yes. Allie Berry. Nina had left. Elderberry. Susie Q. Regine Hutchinson. And Pa Joe. Cowboy Gus. See, who else do we have here tonight? Did I catch everybody? Probably did. Anyway, I am grateful for each and every one of you. Thank you for joining us tonight. Well, you know, we wouldn't have a good show if y'all didn't come and support us even just a little bit. Oh, you're sending me a post tomorrow. Okay, sounds good. Thank you. You got to get up and go home now, but listening. Okay. Remember, David's not going to have a show tonight. Chloe, I know you like to tune in, but he has been booted. Sorry.
Yep. I was just going to say, for those who weren't on first, I got a strike last week for having a discussion, apparently, about face coverings. And that's as far as I'm going to go with that. But so I won't be out of YouTube jail until tomorrow. So I plan on doing a live stream as soon as they let me back on. So whatever it is, I seem to be over something, because within 6 hours they had deleted my video off. And for those of you who were on that video last week, I didn't say that much that I should have got booted. But anyway, so number 21 is Owl.
Owl.
Deception. Do you think we're being deceived after I just got done saying that my channel? But anyway, Owl of magic omens, time and space. Does the truth emerge? Casting out deception. Silent flight, the sacred medicine bird. So owl medicine is symbolically associated with clairvoyance, astral projection, and magic, both black and white. Owl is called the night eagle on several medicine wheels used by Amerindian teachers. Traditionally, owl sits in the east, the place of illumination. Since time immemorial, humanity has been afraid of the night, the dark, and the unseen. Commonly, conversely, night is the owl's friend. Owl hunts its prey at night. Not only can owl see in the dark, but it can accurately pinpoint and identify any sound. Wow, we got weird noises. We have had jets. Sorry to interrupt this, but we've had jets go over the house, and I mean barely over the tops of the trees at full bore, just meow. And whoa, it sounded like that was another one off in the distance coming this way. But anyway, owls are the night hunters. some native peoples are fearful of owl and call its feathers deceiver feathers, and I can attest to that myself. An owl feather is silent. You cannot hear owl when it flies. Owl is oftentimes the medicine of sorcerers and witches. If owl is your medicine, you will be drawn to magical practices. You should resist any temptation to practice dark or black magic, or any art that takes energy away from another person. Is it any wonder in many cultures that owl is a symbol for wisdom? This is because owl can see that which others cannot, which is the essence of true wisdom. Let me read that again. Owl can see that which others cannot, which is the essence of true wisdom. And now, if you can see in a situation where other people are hollering and screaming and you can see the answer, true wisdom. When others are deceived, owl sees and knows what is there. Athena, the goddess of wisdom, the Greek goddess of wisdom, had a companion owl on her shoulder, which revealed unseen truths to her. Owl had the ability to light up Athena's blind side, enabling her to speak the whole truth as opposed to only a half-truth. If you pulled the owl card, you are being asked to use your powers of keen observation to intuit some life situations. Owl is befriending you and aiding you in seeing the total truth. Owl can bring you messages in the night through dreams or meditation. Pay attention to the signals and omens. The truth always brings further enlightenment. So, owl being, well, that's interesting. Owl being the, the non-deceiver, so don't be afraid of what messages the owl brings you. Now, the next other card, which is interesting because was the other end of the deck, is Beaver. And its number is 22. 21 and 22. I could not have picked that better. But owl was right side up and beaver is upside down. Beaver, teach me to build my dreams, including others too. One mind, one thought, hearts as one, lessons learned from you. Beaver is the builder. Beaver is the doer in the animal kingdom. Beaver medicine is akin to water and earth energy and incorporates a strong sense of family and home. If you were to look at the dams that block woodland streams, you would find several entrances and exit. In building its home, beaver always leaves itself many alternative escape routes. This practice is a lesson to all of us not to paint ourselves into a corner. If we eliminate our alternatives, pay attention. If we eliminate our alternatives, we dam the flow of experience in our lives. So for those folks who say, well, I would never try that, or I would never do that, depending on what it is. So if we eliminate our alternatives, we dam the flow of experience in our lives. A doer is characterized by industriousness, and beaver knows that limitation cancels productivity. Limitation cancels productivity. So when we limit ourselves to things, we're not near as productive. To understand beaver medicine, you might take a look at the power of working and attaining a sense of achievement. In building a dream, teamwork is necessary. To accomplish a goal with others involving working with the group mind. Group mind constitutes harmony of the highest order. Doesn't mean hive mind, it means the group mind. Group mind constitutes harmony of the highest order without individual egos getting in the way. Each partner in the project honors the talents and the abilities of others and knows how to complete the piece of the puzzle that belongs to them. In working well with others, a sense of community is achieved and unity ensues. Now, this was upside down. So if Beaver has dunked his head under the water and is contrary, you are being asked to open new doors to opportunity and to stay aware. Boy, if this is ever a time to be aware, right? This could also usher in a time of laziness or apathy. Find what is damming the flow of your energy and remove the impasse. The questions that one might ask that arise when Beaver is contrary. Have I forgotten to allow room in my life for new experiences? Am I willing to work with others? Am I resentful of having to work? Do I express my creativity by doing or just by dreaming about it? Has my mind created so many obstacles to productivity that I feel like a failure before I even begin? Meditate upon Beaver's determination and willingness to work. Visualize the goal you wish to accomplish and be willing to work with others to achieve that end. So Owl's telling you to all be careful, do not be deceived, and Beaver's talking about building. So there you go, my friends. Message for this week. And not a bad message. There are no great omens in there. Except, do not be deceived. There are a lot of stuff's going on today, that we just got to be careful of. I mean, there are folks who are talking one thing and something else is up, and, here's me getting my channel, a strike on my channel for just speaking the truth about a personal incident. And I get flagged, dropped, struck, and it's like, what? I got 700 some odd subscribers and I'm proud of that. But who in the hell am I in the grand scheme of things? What the heck?
What can you say that's going to change the world?
Really, and I wasn't wasn't speaking to people about, oh, you should do this or you should do that. No, I was talking about a personal experience.
Yep.
So, but with that said, and the interesting part about it is that when I went to, here's the truth and the deception, right? When I appealed the decision, it was less than an hour, and they were like, nope, sorry. I was like, what? We're not even going to talk about it? Nope, bye. Well, that was that. So, but anyway, there's a lot of deception out there. Ooh, come with us and do, and you can say what there's free speech, but don't talk about who.
Yeah, there's free speech as long as it's what they want you to talk about. You can freely talk about that all you want. So anyway, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Yeah, yeah.
So be careful, my friends.
Yeah. Well, we're wrapping up another show again. I hope you all enjoyed. We'll be back next week with Black Elk, and hopefully you get that finished up. We're gonna get into Custard's Last Stand and see what actually happened from the Indians' point of view, because you know, it was you know, we always get it from the white man's account, I guess. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. And so this the battle that happened in tonight's story was the prelude to Little Bighorn.
Yes, yes. Because
by the way, I wanted to mention that earlier, but so you know, so I don't know how many days between this battle and the Little Bighorn, but it wasn't that long.
No. And that's the funny part. You know, it's like you're hearing about they're fighting all day long, all day. You know, and oh, there's a buffalo. Hey, let's shoot and have some dinner. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. There's people dying everywhere. Yeah, I'm hungry. Yeah, me too. Hey, you know, come on, get back to the fighting. Like, duh. You know, you just have to wonder. Are we on the winning side? Yeah, we must be. People fighting everywhere. I don't know what's going on. Are we winning? Did we whoop them or did they whoop us? I don't know. We'll find out. We just stopped
to have lunch, you know.
Yeah. And then we got full, and so we decided to go fight again. And then when we got done, we didn't know who won the war.
Hey, y'all, there's a buffalo over the hill over there, and the fire's still going.
Yeah. And then when we got done the next morning, we got up and went out there, and it looks like the white men and had a fire. I'll bet you they put one, or what did they put under the fire?
We dug up his dead buddies and stripped them, and that's where a lot of the times the red man got the blue coats.
That's right. That's my blanket.
That's right. That's my blanket.
I've been looking for that blanket, and there he is on that dead man there. That's mine. I'll have to remember that one.
That's my blanket.
Yeah, dug up this white man, and he was wrapped in a blanket. And that was my blanket. I've been looking for that blanket. I'll have to remember that. Oh boy. Anyway,
for what it's worth, the heat probably killed any bacteria.
Yeah, no smallpox on that blanket. Anyway. Anyway, okay. Well, I let's call it a night. Remember, everybody, go out and do something nice for somebody else. Remember, spring is on its way, and it's time to make it a good day. And we'll be back again soon. Probably Saturday night. I don't know who's going to be on, but I'll be on Nina's show on Sunday Live, and hopefully we get another one in there, and we'll see David live tomorrow night when he gets his channel back. Probably, huh?
Yep, as soon as they let me do it, I'll be back.
All right, sounds good. And with that, everybody, remember, go out and be the frequency you want to receive, because that's the most important thing in the whole wide world. Love you all. Peace, everybody.
Cheers, everybody.